There's also two distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead.
That was a look at our GSRC track guide for Long Beach Circuit. And for those just tuning in, this is the first time in series history that this track is on the schedule. And this has been a track, Michael, with a long history when it comes to its development on the iRacing service. And for the past few months or so, drivers have finally been able to race at a fully detailed version of this track. But it also brings very unique challenges compared to previous rounds, even in the series' history. What can you tell us about racing these Mazda MX-5s today at a track so tight?
Well, tight is the operative word here. This track is, I like to think of it personally as the U.S. version of Monaco. There are just walls everywhere. It's almost like you're bouncing off wall to wall. You're looking at just under 2 miles of track here, right over 3 kilometers with 11 turns. But every one of those turns has a wall on the entry, on the exit, everywhere. It is one of the most storied road layout courses. It's gone through many different iterations through its life as a real course. And for many of the drivers here, they've been driving it as one of what they call a tech course, where it was kind of still in development through the years. And it is incredibly challenging, mostly due to the proximity of walls on every straight, every corner, everywhere you go. So I think we're going to see some people pulling back just a little bit, trying to not knock their mirrors off, and doing the best they can to just stay clean. That's going to be the operative word here: stay clean.
And that's easier said than done, obviously, especially since for many of the drivers, they've seen the points separate themselves out a little bit. For some, they'll need to start making a massive charge later on this season. With a couple rounds to go, Pablo Espez leads the standings, with the draws factored in by 20 points over Brendan Hawken. Jordan Bachmeier is 46 points back, followed by Cam Eben, Daniel Williams, the top 5. And keep in mind, the winners have been Espez, Hawken, along with Williams, and Daniel Bristow, who is the first driver outside the top 5, 4 points behind Daniel Williams. With that, though, it's time to look at your race details, as once again, we go racing in the Big C's MX-5 Challenge.
So we're looking at round 8 out of 10. It's about time to wrap this up. If you're not up where you want to be, you need to perform today in this 40-minute race. This is a fixed setup race, so there's nothing any driver can do to try to tweak their car. It's all about the driver. We're looking at a 20x incident cap, so 20 incidents. That's 1 for just a little bit off track, scraping a wall. You might get 2, 4 for a car-to-car contact. Use them wisely. And we have points from first place all the way back to 15th. And remember, there will be a pit stop because there's only 3.9 gallons. That's about 14.8 liters that'll take these cars for 25-ish minutes. So they're going to have to refuel. Will they take tires? Could be interesting to see how that one plays out.
It's going to be very intense, to say the very least, how some of the strategy can fare out today, with this being the first time many of these drivers will be racing here in this series. In fact, in this series, I should say, in regards to the service itself, for many could be their first experiences. But let's take a look at the qualifying details presented by SHH Shifter. SHH Shifter uses only the best commercial plastics to create the high-quality 3D printed shifters you need to give it your all on the track. Their commitment to detail and durability ensures that you receive the perfect shifter. Find them on the web at www.shiftershh.com. Drivers are in the midst right now of 4-lap solo qualifying for 15 total minutes. 7 minutes have already gone off the clock, and strict qualifying scrutiny is on here at the Long Beach circuit, which, keep in mind, Track temperatures as expected in this series and as seen as tradition, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, 81 degrees is the track temp total, with default winds, 56% humidity, and the in-sim time setting things up for the potential of lights to turn on, as per series tradition. But when it comes to qualifying, this could be a bit of a different type of session, where in turn we see a lot of drivers amongst the top 20 or 25, Michael, separated by about a second. Right now, 19 drivers have put in times. They've already separated themselves by almost 3 seconds. That's how difficult this track is for some.
A lot of that is trying to be careful. If you're used to running a regular track, so not a street circuit, but something like Circuit of the Americas, where you have tons of runoff room, or a place like that, Watkins Glen, for example, you have options of, oh, I can just go a little bit over there. There's also the problem of if you get one incident point on a lap, that's going to kill your lap. It is no longer good. So you have to make a lap that is clean. And if you want it to count, it's got to be clean. That means no touching a wall, no going out of bounds in the couple of places here you can go out of bounds. So I think a lot of these drivers, where we're used to seeing them with only maybe a quarter second separating the first 10, 15, 20 places, we're going to start seeing a little bit greater range, and they're saving it for the race.
One of the drivers that you may notice towards the bottom of the pylon right now, how about dead last in qualifying after one completed lap? And someone who's drifting a lot this time throughout this session. He drifted through turns 6 and 7 this lap. Brandon Hawken, a 1:35.2, started off his respective session. He's actually just been bumped outside the top 20. It's not looking pretty easy when it comes to Hawken's qualifying so far, especially since he was second in practice, just about 2/10 off Pablo Espes.
Well, Brandon is one of those guys that you know can race. I don't think he's too concerned about being that far back. I'm certain there is some concern, but I don't think he's too concerned. He knows how to race. He knows how to get his car back up to the pointy end of the range. As we watch him go through turn 1 here, getting into the fountain area, he's got nice control. Look at that, just right up on the edge. And that may have been a nick. Oh, I hope that didn't kill his lap, because this is a really, really nice setup, very controlled, very good speed all the way through here as he comes up to head to the Tecate turn to head up Pine Avenue.
Keep in mind, 28 drivers currently at the racetrack would be one of the smallest grids, in fact, the smallest of the season, it's worth mentioning. So there's not as many drivers willing to take the risk of trying to survive the tight streets of Long Beach. This is not going to be the easiest track, Michael, in turn to be able to make moves. You have to consider, though, because of that tight nature in a lot of sections. We were talking about in practice, for example, one driver checked up 5 times before they ended up making contact with somebody trying to make a dive after their second pass attempt in a sector and a half.
That's true, and that was actually one of those cases where it's a real-life driver like me who's crossing over, like me, into doing some virtual racing and iRacing. You don't know the people, you don't know how to react around them, so you may try to stick a nose out here and there and just kind of let your intentions know, and you need to feel them out. So I understand why it felt that way in practice. It may have seemed like he was being aggressive, or maybe not aggressive enough, and it's just you got to learn the people. You've got people like Brandon, Cam, Daniel Munoz, Brandon Hawken, Anthony Burrows. You've got these people who know each other. They race with each other. Well, at least 8 races of this season, if not longer. And it just you have to start to learn how your competitors are going to drive and how they're going to react. I think a lot of that we saw in practice was feeling people out, going out, trying to stick a nose in here, trying to make a little push there, feel them out, see how they're going to react when the actual race comes, so you know how to keep yourself out of trouble.
A good point when it comes to thinking about that margin, especially since drivers do use practice a lot to find those limits. By the way, Hawken, see moments ago, moved up to 4th. Cam Evan, currently now around 10th, trying to bump that up, a 1:34.9 that time by, had a 1:33.4 as his personal best here. That real-world driver, by the way, we're talking about is the current 14th place qualifier who's already done his session. That is Aaron Gianson, who has a lot of experience when it comes to this type of racing, to say the very least. How about the 2020 Mazda MX-5 Cup shootout winner, who ended up receiving a scholarship in turn to run the rear-wheel Mazda MX-5 in 2021. Similar fashions to, say, the Estersons of the world for those who have been following along the sim racing side the past few months.
Ooh, and like we were talking about before, Brandon Hawken, he knows how to bring it. Just turned the fastest lap. Went from 21st to 4th, I think it was, 4th or 5th, and now he's all the way at the top with Frederick Fullestad just a touch behind him, just under 0.2 of a second. This is going to be a really interesting one as we watch Cam Eben come down here. How's Cam doing on this lap? He looks like he's got a really good clip, hard into the braking, gets a little bit of that curbing all the way out to the edge of that Firestone corner, in through Indy corner. Now, oh, it's everyone's least favorite corner in the world, this hairpin. It's most people just curse as they go through it. We will refrain from cursing because we're not actually driving through it today. And here he comes down the straightaway. Oh, just a quick run. Is he going to make it? Is it going to be faster? Oh, just a touch faster. Nicely done.
That moves him up to 8th position, in fact, for Cam Eben. He, along with Andres Prieto, Daniel Munoz, the only other drivers on the track who have set times who are still running qualifying. One other driver is using the final minute of the practice / qualify, I should say, Emilio Largo, to not panic and get some practice laps in. Unfortunately, that time likely going to run dry here for that number 593. With that, the drivers are currently in the midst of closing up qualifying as they get ready to approach the butt kicker starting grid for today's action. Butt kicker products are silent subwoofers that deliver powerful bass through your couch or chair, so you can feel the crashes, racing engines, and special effects in your movies and games. Butt kicker transducers are virtually indestructible and maintenance-free, with thousands of units currently in service. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com, especially if you want to feel the big booms like you just seen with one driver testing those limits. So qualifying just about wrapped up in turn for today's action in turn. As, by the way, that was Kenny Brady you've seen crashing along. Let's get ready to get that chance to go off towards your butt kicker starting grid, where it's expected to be an intense one. Espes led in practice at the end of the session, but after qualifying, it is Brandon Hawken who has set the quickest time of the session. In fact, nearly matching the time set by Espes for the butt kicker starting grid from practice to qualifying differential. Hawkins set the pole time by nearly 2/10 over Frederick Fullestad with Pablo Espes. And how about Jose Soria? He was one of the drivers who ran a World Championship competition in 2021 in the open wheel machines. He races a lot here. He's racing from second row action today. Austin Johnson, Caleb Hyde start in row 3 with Anthony Burrows, Cam Eben in row 4. Jordan Bachmeier looking for some valuable points starts in the 9th position today, while Kenny Brady rounds out the top 10.
Looking at our next 10, our next 5 rows, one of my favorite people to race with personally, Rui Coimbra, followed by Giancarlo Schooler, Otis Adams Jr., Andres Prieto, and as we were talking about him earlier, Aaron Jeanson, Daniel Ariel Munoz, Atsushi Maeda, Bartolome Kedzia, and then we have Len, followed by Martin for the top 20.
21st spot today goes to Nick Carty, who set a 134.1 in qualifying, followed by Shane Sullivan, the race winner from Road America. Then it's Jose Gonzalez, Lars Toff, the last drivers to set times. The rest of the field is sorted as such, with Largo currently slotted for 25th, Mason Pandicio, McCain, the last of the drivers of note. One other driver, Barrett Bea, did not make it towards the grid for today's action. So once again, all the drivers just about all set to go racing from Long Beach for the first time in series history. It's the question of which drivers will make their way to the podium in this street race. Let's find out. Round 8 of the Big C's MX-5 Challenge for Season 6 is all set to go. The drivers are ready. Everyone is ready. The engines are revving. The green lights are out. We're underway from Long Beach. And a clean start for Brandon Hawken and company as he makes his way to the right side of the track quickly, 2 by 2, a couple rows deep behind, who will attempt to send off to the first corner for the first time as we see drivers try and go for the lead. Hawkin gets hit by Follestad. Several cars kick up smoke. They make it to the fountain, though. Most of the field survives to the first corner as they keep on heading to the fountain.
Looks like Hawkins got major damage to that left rear. Oh, yeah, he was dragging as he was coming through there. That was a hard hit. That's tough to see for Brandon. He had such a nice qualifying, really good run. Really disappointing to see that happen.
There is a fast repair available, but that is absolutely huge for the championship standings, Michael. He was 20 points behind. Now he will be very behind the rest of the pack. One error driver, Odis Adams Jr., has had some trouble as well as this 20 machine. Trying to turn things around. That is Adams, in fact, who's trying to parallel park down the middle of the road. That puts him currently right behind Hawkin, but Soria, throughout all this, is now the leader.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks, if you get turned around, turning yourself back around is going to be a challenge. As we watch him go through Firestone here, that's a tough corner because you can't really use all that track that you want to, and you get bounced around a bit by the by the curbing, and then set up for the hairpin. Oh, now we've got a good run down to the start-finish line. Let's see how these guys are able to pull it out. Just tuck in right into that little tiny hole from these Mazdas as they approach the start-finish line.
Brandon Hawkin has crashed again as Soria leads the first lap in series history at Long Beach. Already, it's Follestad in second. Austin Johnson's up to third. Hines, Aspes, Burrows, the top six. First battles you see on behind. How about Kenny Brady? He made it clear he wasn't afraid to go for massive sends. He nearly sends the 15 into the wall.
Ooh, that's tough. And walls, like we were saying before, walls are going to be... Oh!
Some of the leaders.
Oh no,
that
this
is
is
Anthony
not good.
Burrows and several others who checked up as Aspes gone into the back end of the 92 of Hines.
Not what I was expecting from this race. I was thinking it would be more of a wall thing, but I think people might be being a little bit too scared of the walls. You've got to embrace it. Well, not embrace the wall, that could hurt, but you want to make sure you get as close to it as you can without actually touching it. But I think some people are trying to break a little bit early because, hey, cold tires, cold race. We've got a long race to go. Not everyone's on that same boat. So, hey, guys, let's settle in here. Let's get into a groove and watch how this race develops on its own, not push people down into the walls.
Will they follow that advice is the question. Burrows nearly sends it to the inside from a couple car lanes back in response. They make their way to the hairpin for the second time. Most drivers survived this section cleanly for the first time. Hines gets a bump, though, from Burrows. He nearly gets hit in the wall again.
That's a tough corner. Oh, we got more. We've got more contact. That's Gene Sohn with, oh, who was that? Was that Munoz? I think that was Munoz. Yeah, and it's that corner. That hairpin is just death for everyone. Everyone who goes through there, especially on the iRacing. As I was saying before, you just have to bite your tongue the whole time you're through there and hopefully not bite it off because something's going to happen. Oh, and it looks like we've got an issue in turn one.
That's Caleb Hines. Yes, it is. Caleb Hines has just had another issue because he got hit again. This time again by Burrows. And now he's in the middle of the Hornet's Nest for 11th on back. 2 by 2 now, a couple rows deep. As they make their way heading towards West Shoreline Drive now, trying to battle hard. Gene Sohn amongst them as an error hit from Munoz into the tires.
Oh, that's rough. Now it looks like an earlier one was called as a net code problem. That one, I'm not so sure that was net code. That looked pretty hard to me.
Adams has had to pull his car in. Munoz has just put a toe in. Brandon Hawkin just finished his fast repair the past moment or so, but he is already down a full lap and else outside the scoring points. Absolute calamity, Michael, in the first few minutes. We were expecting to be difficult to pass, but we weren't expecting absolute madness to break out.
It's been madness for sure. Now we've got Follestad still in second place, holding on to second place quite well, and Soria in the lead. Right here we have Ryan Pendicio. Oh, got sideways. As I was saying before, turning these cars around with these walls being so close is tough to do.
He was in the battle for 21st at the time as we head off to Soria again. On the bright side for Soria and Follestad, ever since that lap 1, turn 1 trouble in the lead pack, things have been very calm to the point where they've ran away from Aspes and everybody else having a fist fight in the middle of the corners to the tune of 3 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like Austin Johnson is trying to hold on and be part of that little trio. I think these guys are going to want to hang on and say, hey, this is our podium. Let everyone else fight for the best of the rest. We're going to sit here and be the podium. If they're smart, they're going to run this as long as they can. But we've seen Pablo Espez before. 3 seconds is not going to bother him. It's only 2.5 seconds to Johnson in front of him. So I would not put it beyond him. Oh, as we watch the number 92 car remove some mirrors as he goes down the wall here.
Heights has been treated like a punching bag. He got hit several times in a sector and a half, to the point where now he's got significant damage to the 92. Hides now pulls it to the side. Pandisio and McCain have also crashed again and have also pulled their cars off the racetrack for the time being.
I think Caleb may be wondering why he woke up so early to do this race at this point. That was a tough hit. It's so tight here. As we said, there is no runoff room. As we watch right there, the 78, that's going to be Fullerstad, just tagging the wall a little bit, which loses him a little bit of time, but I think he can stick in the draft and try to hold on to that position. I don't think Johnson's going to try to make too much out of this. Again, I think these guys are comfortable. I think they're going to sit here and just try to run it out. But again, oh, there we go. Look who's coming in the background. That's our perennial favorite for running up these long gaps, Pablo Espez.
Espez is definitely gaining a lot of respect for some of these drivers. The Ascendian Racing driver, at times, keep in mind, with some of the technical tracks, has been able to out-strategize some competitors and run away on his own to the point where some drivers have not been able to reel in his draft. He's got a decent shot to close in, indeed, about nearly 2 seconds behind, 2.2 precisely, behind Austin Johnson. Of note, Shane Sullivan has just had another issue meanwhile. He's out of the race and is amongst those who have just DNF'd. He immediately pulled off the racetrack after smacking the wall coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, the walls are becoming a problem here. This is a race of attrition, not that dissimilar to real life. You've got to stay out of the walls. If you're not used to racing a track like this, it's smart to kind of hang back and let everyone else take themselves out and move your way up through attrition. You make up 10 positions through attrition, that's a whole lot easier than trying to make 10 passes.
Good point indeed as we take a look at some of the real-world drivers. How about leading this grouping of drivers, in fact? 11th spot, Jin Song, currently working in front of Kedzia and Andreas Brito. He's had some eventful moments in this series in its history. Very quiet the past couple seasons, however. This is still in the mixture for points, mind you.
Aaron's doing a nice job. He's moved up 4 places, but right behind him, you've got Kedzia, who's made up 6 positions. So I think these guys may want to kind of hang on to each other and work together if they're smart. Oh, as we watch the 28, is he going to make this pass? Is he going to try to make it? This is a tough one. Ooh, good. Come on, Pablo, get around there.
That is Brito, in fact, making the move right there. Jitsun trying to break away in turn. Keep in mind, when it comes to the Louisiana-based driver and Aaron Jitsun, someone with, as mentioned, an Emerging Talent Award recipient, was a Road to Indy Shootout finalist a few years back and had won a 2017 Team USA scholarship after scoring second in the points in the 2017 Lucas Oil Formula Car Championship. A rising talent for sure, Michael. He's only 22 years old.
22 years old, but looks like he's got 22 years of experience the way he's handling this car. Moving nicely. Now look at how much he's opened up here. Right behind him is now Andres Prieto. And the gap is a little over half a second. He's about 0.6 of a second. Kedzia has fallen back behind Prieto and is about 0.3 behind him. So is Jinson trying to open this up, or is he going to try to sit there and work together with these guys? This is something we need to watch, because in P11 he's still in the points. You always want to be top 10. Well, you want to be on the podium, but if you're going to do something that you can still brag about a little bit, you want to be in the top 10.
Battle for the lead is now intensifying. Soria side by side with Fullestad. Fullestad trying the outside, can't make it work. Back single file as they make their way back towards the fountain again. Fullestad starting to show his hand a little bit, it seems, Michael, trying to get the run, and now he just scraped the wall.
Ooh, scraping the wall is going to slow him down a tiny bit, but that's also going to give him one of those incident points. He's got 20 to work with. Well, he's got 19 now, maybe less if we missed a few.
So now they regroup in Sector 2. Of note, Brandon Hawkin, despite being lapped down, is back up to 23rd as a result of, well, everything around the racetrack today. So there is still a shot if Calamity continues for him to score points. Or you can have Fullestad nearly knock the wall down and try and move it back a foot.
Or you could be like Soria and just say, I don't need this left side mirror. It's dangling there. I want to just knock that thing off. So let's see if he's able to get close enough to the wall here to just get rid of that thing.
Well, it's with the sim, you do have the opportunity of a virtual mirror to be able to use on top of your sim mirror, like that center one, or your right side mirror. He nearly scraped the wall with that left side mirror, but look who's still in the backdrop. Johnson is losing ground here, Michael, but Espes is getting closer to Johnson in turn in his draft for the straight.
That he is. He's under 2 seconds now. It's a little bit too far for the draft to work, but don't put it beyond Espes. Espes is an excellent driver. He can close this up. And if we watch him, and we're used to seeing him, if you watched any races from Big C's this year, you know Pablo is one of those guys who is so good on fuel and can probably run an extra lap or so and try to make up that gap in the pit stop.
And there's only one other driver who's been quicker than Espes over the past 5 laps on average, Michael, too. The guy who's right behind him, Kenny Brady, is closing in as well and is within 1.6 seconds of Espes and bringing Bachmeier and Anthony Burrows with him.
Yeah, this is a nice little group forming back here. These guys may end up packing up. If I'm watching them closely, everybody seems to be moving. You got Kenny Brady, who's come up 5 places, Jordan Bachmeier 3. These are names we're used to hearing. Anthony Burrows right behind him in P7. And the gaps are not that big as Anthony Burrows is actually closing up pretty tight right here. Watching him, number 62 there. He is right on the tail of Jordan Bachmeier.
The Belvidero's Legacy Esports driver really tight on these curbs, I will say as well, Michael. Not afraid of the track limits, it appears, to get as tight as he can to some of these walls to save some time, to the point where he nearly smacked the wall going to the hairpin there.
Yeah, you can see how slow we had it up there. It was 27 miles per hour. That does not sound like racing speed, but I guarantee you, if you were in one of these cars in real life, going around that hairpin at 27 miles per hour, you would probably scream like an 8-year-old girl. It is crazy to go that fast around that corner in one of these cars.
Burrows, meanwhile, leapfrogs his way past Jordan Bachmeier. Once the top 5 drivers with the points, keep in mind that 15. But it's been a very quiet round for Jordan Bachmeier and his efforts today. That's allowed Cam Eben and Giancarlo Schooner to also reel in this respective drafting pack.
Yeah, Cam's one of those names we're used to seeing up at the top. He's gotten himself up to P8, or I should say holding on to P8. I think he's been back and forth, up and down a little bit through some of the shuffling in traffic here. It'll be interesting to see how the end of this plays out. Cam is one of those guys we always notice near the end of the race. I don't know if it's how he preserves the tires, how well he uses his fuel, but for some reason he's always up in that top 5 pack near the end, and then, well, whatever happens from there happens. I know that Cam feels the love as he comes up in there, that suddenly turns to, hey, wait, I want that position. And then, well, we get some exciting finishes, don't we?
Cam Eben, for just about every single round, keep in mind, Michael, has been in the conversation to score his first victory in the series. A series he's a major part of, mind you, and how it gone off the ground. You have to think, with how close it's been, something's got to break through for the win at some point, because he's been in the conversation so many times. It's just come down to last lap moments in most of the races this season. As one driver having a bit of moments on their own, meanwhile, towards the back of the grouping, that's 18th, Lee Martin, who's now pulling into the pit lane without a front clip, or rather a front clip that's wanting to bounce its way from the car still.
Ooh, it gets tough to control these cars when you have those wall hits like that, and just and luckily for him, he was right there. I think he was right there at the pit entry, was able to come in. I don't think he's going to be able to get enough fuel, though, although we're about 25 minutes left, so possibly, or sorry, 25 minutes through with about 17 minutes. Sorry, I got that all flipped around. About 15 minutes in.
We're 15
Yes.
minutes in, yes. 25 minutes now just passed on the clock to go. Under 25 minutes now. You got me into that pathway too. And now it's going to be interesting how the strategy plays out, because the pit stop delta for Martin, 17.6 seconds. The damage came at a decent time to be able to get a scheduled service delta. That amount of time, keep in mind, is still lengthy and very lengthy at that down the lane. It's a very slow crawl through the pit lane here at Long Beach.
Yeah, Lee Martin just getting out onto the track as we watch our main group here trying to make their way onto that front straight. Oh, looks like we got Follestad dropping into the pit lane.
Evan also dropping on in, bringing a couple others with them as well in turn for pit stops. The pit stop window was open. I was about to say, Michael, the pit delta 56 seconds because the speed limit is just 40 miles per hour down the pit lane. Normal speeds for normal day action, but for iRacing standards, it's one of the slower pit lanes on the service.
And one of the longer ones as we watch the number 78 car, Frederick Follestad here, getting left side tires. Is he also going to get right side as he fills up? Is it worth it? Nope. Going to go ahead and pull out, try to heat up that left rear to make it match the right rear as we watch the 55 car try to chase him down. Let's see how this is going to work out. Are they going to blend back into traffic well?
Looking like they'll blend without any traffic at all around them. In fact, Cam Evan did take a shorter stop though, 15 seconds to get towards Follestad by about 2 seconds there. But we're also doing the same pathway. Bit of trouble just now for Kezia as well, going through sector 2. He's got himself back going with significant damage, but one of the most improved drivers of the season.
Yeah, Kenzie is one of those people. You're right. He has moved his way up. He's just been getting better and better every single race. It's been interesting to watch how he's gotten more comfortable with the drivers. Just like we were talking about before with our pro guest who's come in today. You kind of try to learn how people race. And once you learn how they race, you become better. You pick up little things from them. You learn how to pass them. You learn how to keep them from passing. So Kezia is definitely one of those people who has really taken a shining to this league and started coming up through as we watch him run through that tight little in section here, getting ready to get back on to the straight.
Meanwhile, we're looking at pit stops as well, Michael, where drivers are getting their service done for Johnson, Burrows, Brady, Schooner. Son Kezia has also just ducked on in after that respective description you made there. So, Soria and Espes are continuing to go along as the main leaders. About half the field has completed their service for those still running. There's the pit stop difference between Brady and Burrows. Burrows, 3/10 quicker. That's enough for Burrows to jump Brady.
And we've got to watch the exit here. This is one of the most difficult tracks to exit the pit. You see all this open track to your left side, but notice that blue line right there. That blue line comes down to the yellow line. You've got a little line across the track right at the end with the blue cone at the... Oh, we're getting tight in there as Cam Evan comes through and decides he wants to interject himself between these two cars.
Here's the thing, though. Guess who jumped up in front of Follestad in turn? Austin Johnson. Austin Johnson is now in front of the 78 machine. He had dropped back about nearly a full second before the pit stop window opened up from the rest of the lead pack drivers. These two are now ahead by still about 3 seconds from everybody else.
That puts Austin Johnson in the, well, we'll call it the calculated lead. He's currently sitting in P10, but he's the leader of everyone who is pit right now. He was able to turn that pit stop, his stationary time pit, 7/10 faster. Is that because he went light on fuel, or is that because he didn't get tires? As we watch Follestad come back around.
Follestad has just made a move and slipped and slid his way around towards Indy left now after the run through Firestone. Follestad now up towards that mathematical position. Now it's the interesting mark of how do they play out compared to Soria. Keep in mind they are 44 seconds behind Soria on the racetrack at the moment. As Johnson has already indicated, he's going to go for a push to try and push their momentum forward down the longest straightaway of the track.
And Follestad, I think, communicating that intention. Hey, let me push you down. Let's get us back in front so that we can get ahead of Soria and Espes. But don't put anything beyond Soria and Espes. Espes, as we know, Soria, also a fantastic driver sitting up front right now. ooh, this could really turn out to be an exciting finish with the way these guys are working together to get themselves there and then fight it out at the very end.
Just past halfway, by the way, in this race. Soria, Espes, Prieto, Lynn, Maida, Cardi, Toft, Largo have all not hit yet. As the leader has now gone into the wall again, Soria continues to have that left side mirror on the car, but he's added more damage to said car as he keeps on chugging along.
Well, I think you get rid of the mirror, you get rid of a little weight. Maybe it works well for him. A little bit of drag too. Maybe that's what he's looking for. I don't know.
I mean, I've seen mirrors fall into drivers' laps before.
I've had a mirror fall in my lap.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That story as Prieto comes in.
So, yeah, definitely. I've had one of those little round mirrors. You get a little bit too close to somebody and you knock them, boom, pops over right into your lap. That's interesting because you definitely don't want it at your feet where it's going to get in the way of the pedals. So as we watch right now, this is some what do we have going here? We got 25. This is Soria trying to work his way down, getting really close to that wall. He wants to get rid of his other mirror too. He doesn't care who's behind him. It doesn't matter because look at this gap he's opening up. He's got Espes about 2 seconds behind him. I think he's trying to put in a hot one so he can come in and have a little bit of a buffer as he gets in to get that fuel to make it to the end.
Last time by 133.8. He and Espes, the only drivers in that range outside of Maida, I should say. Everyone else, for the most part, who has not pit, was running around the 134s, the high 134s, or the 135 flats. Will Soria come on in? 12 estimated laps to go this time by. That would put him at 14 laps in. No, he keeps going. Could go about another lap or two at the most based on our estimations for this one. Here's a look at the main pack meanwhile. Johnson and Fullestad have swapped again. Burrows, Largo, Eben, and Brady are in it. Keep in mind, the 593 cannot panic. He is in the middle of this pack despite not pinning yet, and now he looks like he's driving in the middle of the track instead of in the draft line.
I may have been trying to let him pass, or he could be saying, I like this. I'm up 15 places right next to my name here. Oh, there he goes, letting him come through, letting him around, just going a little bit wide. Don't panic. Hey, there you go. Just let these guys through and maybe learn a little bit from him. I think when you're looking at the back end of Cam Evans' car, that's actually a good place to be, especially if you're new in this league. Cam is an excellent driver. You're going to pick up a little bit of something every second you spend behind him.
The thing is, I think part of the reason over the radio there was some verbal disagreement on the positioning, they lost time to this pack. Burrows making it clear he wants to make a move. Not even make a pass though on Fullestad. Also into the wall goes Cam Eben in the next pack. Eben scraped the wall through turn 1.
Doesn't look much worse for the wear. I think that was his right mirror. Yeah, looks like this could be. Yeah, that looks like both mirrors. This is where he wanted to be. He wanted both mirrors dangling. Now he can just focus forward because he can't see anything behind him anyway.
So, to make clear, the right side mirror was knocked off through turn 1. The left side you just seen was knocked up out of the fountain. So now Eben's got no physical mirrors currently attached fully. Meanwhile, the drivers attached to one another. Here's a look now down Seaside Way of the grouping of Johnson, Fullestad, and Burrows again. Looking like they're being a bit more patient with the passing zone showed so far to be more so turn 1 for a majority of some of the moves today.
It looks like they're trying to hold about a quarter second between themselves, waiting for the right time. I expect we're going to see some communication come up here with these guys where they're saying, all right, it's time to push away. We are the effective leaders here. Let's jump in and try to open this gap up a little bit more. But hey, first, you got to get up next, right up on the tail of the guy in front of you to be able to push him along and make that gap a little bit bigger.
See a little bit more gathered up between Fullestad and Johnson. Fullestad wants to make the move now. Peeks to the left side, entering turn 1. Making her way to Aquarium Way as Fullestad clears on by. Johnson shuffled back into the 6th position. Last time by 133.9. They lost about a tenth or so to Soria and Espes.
And that's not a difficult pass to make, and it's not an expensive pass to make. What I mean by expensive is it doesn't cost you a lot of time because you've gotten a bit of a draft, so you're already there a little bit earlier. And if you can just hit your brakes right and be close up door to door with your opponent, and they let you do that and don't try to pinch you down, you can get through that turn and not lose that much time, maybe a tenth or two.
Of note, Nick Carty had to come down for a second pit stop. Here's there was an issue the first time, as a bit of bumping now with Fullestad. Here comes 3 wide down the straightaway. Burrows wants to make the pass. He and Johnson move by Fullestad. Burrows now leads this group. What happened there?
Looked like Fullestad tried to run a little bit too hard and caught the wall. The walls here, these are going to be the story of the race, is who hit the wall and how hard. That was a little bit too hard. We get this number 21. Making a nice launch out. We've got 62, Anthony Burrows trying to make his way down. He looks like he's got, at least half a car length, but...
Fullestad has to come in. Fullestad's had to come in. He's gotten a meatball flag from that contact referred to through the walls.
Ooh, it looked like it was harder than I thought it was. It's the number 54 car trying to be part of this pack. Also, Kenny Brady trying to make his way into this. He says, I'll take Fullestad's place. He needed to go in. And he makes the pass on the 21. He gets around Austin Johnson.
Kenny Brady having one of his best races in this series, in contention in the lead group, but the question is, how will the timing fare out still with Soria still yet to pit? Of note, the 193 of Medea has gotten a black flag and is having to come back down the pit lane as well. Toft has also just completed his service. Now Soria will join that pit lane as well, this time by he and his spotter, Jose Bob Rodriguez, now coming in for that service, with Espes also ducking on in with under 14 minutes, coming to 13 minutes to go on the clock as they drive by the pit stalls.
Yeah, we've got both Espes and Soria in the pits. Are they going to be able to make it out in time to stay in front of the pack we were just watching, of those leaders, with Anthony Burrows currently in the effective lead and Kenny Brady right behind him? This will be interesting to see if they're able to get that pit stop short enough. A 16.1 second pit stop for both Espes and Soria. Just a hair's difference between them as they launch their way down into the turn 1 area. Where are our effective leaders, or are these they?
These are them, in fact, by a significant margin. As we talked about, they were gaining time and pulling away from everyone having the wrestling match. The lead expanded as a result, Michael, by about another half a second to a second.
Making up in the pit stop is the easiest place to do it. You can only drive so fast on track, but when you just nail that entry into the pits and that exit from the pit, you've got your stop down perfectly. And then your pit crew, well, the pit crew doesn't make much of a difference here. It's pretty much the same for everybody. It's just how much fuel you take on. As we watch dangling mirrors on the 62 car. This is going to be an interesting finish. We've got Burrows and only about 0.8 off of Espes. Espes about 2.5 off of Soria. How is this going to play out? I don't know. Espes, he makes up these gaps beautifully, but I don't know how easy that's going to be with Anthony Burrows right on his tail.
Espes now leads the main pack of cars trying to draft up to Soria, but that is very easier said than done. Lynn comes on in, now expecting Soria to be in the overall lead this time by. These drivers all need to close up 3 to 4 seconds to have any chance to battle with Soria, who has been dominant. Soria has led every single lap so far, Michael. There's a reason he ran in the World Championship this year.
Yeah, Soria just taking the actual overall lead from Len, who is in the pits. As he runs down to turn 1, we're looking at a gap opening up. He's at 2.4 seconds. 2.4 is a lot of time to make up. I think what needs to happen here is Espes, Burrows, Brady, and Johnson, that little pack, they need to start working together. Maybe some leapfrogging, maybe some bump drafting. They need to do something if they're going to catch up to Soria, as Soria is still sitting over 2 seconds ahead of them.
2.3 seconds to be precise. In other words, Michael, Espes stagnated just about from where he was before compared to Soria on the timing sheets. Burrows, Brady, and Johnson not really fighting too much. Eben is still closing in a bit. And then everyone else is about 6 seconds behind, with about 10 minutes to go on the clock. Anything could happen, especially since Soria does have a couple drivers in front of him traffic-wise.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to notice here, if you're watching the timing and scoring that we have on the GSRC website, you'll see the best times. We've got Espez and Soria both within 0.001 of each other. These guys' best times are so close. That's a margin of error of the timing system, to be honest. It's going to be a tough call for Espez to be able to make it all the way up there. He has to work with Burrows, Brady, Johnson, and I think Eben. Nope, Eben's a little bit far back from that group.
Yep. So a true test of patience now coming into play. Espez did close in by about more than 2/10 that time, though. It's 2.1 seconds now, the differential. They picked up that time, Michael, in the hairpin alone.
Yeah, the hairpin is kind of a telltale. You've got to come out of the hairpin beautifully. You have to get it perfect every single time because you have the longest, what's effectively a straight. Sure, there's a bend in the middle of it, but it's effectively a straight past the start finish. To get down there and get every single mile per hour you can. It's going to make a difference, as we saw that time. I wonder if Soria just kind of was trying to stay out of the walls, be a little bit on the conservative side. He knows he's got a 2.2 second gap still. Yeah, just kind of hang back. Maybe get those guys to get themselves into a fight. As we watch the gap opening up here, looks like Burrows is having a hard time keeping up with Espez. Has Espez decided to put on the afterburners? He's looking at the time and going, hey, I've got a little over 8.5 minutes, or a little under 8.5 minutes left here. I need to make hay while this sun shines, or as the headlights burn, as it were.
Those headlights are on, mind you, at the moment. Keep in mind, this is the sector where Espez picked up most of his time last time. He is now broken away from Burrows. Can he gain a little bit more ground to catch up to the draft to Soria? 5 estimated laps to go this time by. And this time around, they stagnated in terms of the interval. About 2.1 seconds the entire lap outside of the run through Indy left. This time by, to be precise, across the timing scoring, Espez 133.274, Soria 133.307. That's not going to be enough to catch him in time.
Yeah, where they're strong is interesting. I was watching that as watching the gap as they were running through the middle section of this track. It got down to 1.7, 1.8 seconds. He was closing up a lot. That was nearly half a second to close up. And then got to that hairpin, lost it all at the hairpin. You've got to nail the hairpin every single time. But I think he has it in him. And if we watch Burrows, Brady, and Johnson just behind him, trying to make this battle into the third place position, they want to catch up. They're getting the good runs out of there too. They're not letting Espez get too far away. Right now, the gap between Burrows and Espez is only about 1.3, 1.4 seconds.
The thing is, though, Burrows was 0.8 slower than Espez last time by. So Espez is starting to run away from that pack with his average lap times 0.2 quicker than the current race leader. Brady, a little bit of a slide through the corner this time. Another slide up towards the hairpin. Johnson, no room to go, though, as he stays in line as they nearly give bumper cars to one another, approaching 6 minutes to go on the clock.
Johnson trying to get right up under. Look at it. Look how close he is. Is he going to push him, or is he going to go for the push around him? He's got right in there. He's showing that headlight because, hey, some of these cars actually still have mirrors left, even though I think that one's hanging off the side. Is he going to? Oh, we got a defense to the inside. Defending to the inside. Ooh. In my eyes, that's a double move. I don't know the specific rules for this, but he made a move to the left to block that inside, and then he moved back outside. I think the stewards are going to have to take a look at that double move.
Have to see indeed. Keep in mind, Burrows does have damages. Here's Eben now, continuing to chug along. He's lost even more time. Another incident for him this lap. So more troubles afoot for Cam Eben.
It looks like Burrows had something happen to him too. Eben running here kind of on his own, but let's go back up here to where Burrows is. Burrows, the number 62 car, has fallen to the back of that pack. He was leading it. Right now, it looks like Kenny Brady in the Fortnite car is trying to pull an Espez. He's trying to pull away from these guys. He's opened it up nicely here in between Brady and Burrows. It's up to about half a second now, about 4/10. As we come through this little twisty section, is he going to get a better launch coming through Firestone? And he comes around to the hairpin through Indy left. Oh, can he open this up? Get a nice launch out of here. Looks like he's going to open this up just a little bit more.
The reason why Burrows lost time, for reference, he cut the corner going towards West Shoreline Drive, turn 5, completely. Went completely underneath the rumble strips, hence why he had to give up time, and in turn, these drivers lost about 34 seconds with that battle now, compared to Espez only where he is on the racetrack these past couple laps. Under 3 estimated laps to go, the separation between first and second is shrinking. Kenny Brady has just indicated he may not be able to make it on gas. He is looking for some help here with the fuel mileage.
Yeah, Kenny had only about a 15-second box.
Columbra has just had a crash up through turn 6 and 7. Up to the runoff area, that will lose him some time. They keep on racing though as the 22 is back on going. Check that turn 1.
Rui, tough day for him. He's such a good driver too. I mentioned before, I love racing with him. I race with him in regular iRacing every once in a while. He is a great driver. He's fast. He's clean. It's a shame to see something like that happen to him.
Meanwhile, Brady had been passed by Burrows this lap, now wants the spot back. And this continues to turn into a wrestling match and a half. Another 2 seconds have been lost this lap alone. Johnson now is the caboose for this train. 2 estimated laps to go. By the way, the race lead is down to 1.3 seconds and closing quickly.
Pablo Espez doing what we expect from him, making the end of the race his story. He sits there at the end of the race and he closes it up, or if he's the one in front, opens that gap. He's got such a good end of racecraft that he's able to do that just effectively, race after race after race. What's going on? Oh, the 54 car with Kenny Brady. Maybe he got a course cut or scraped the wall.
Well, they were going 2-3 wide. Brady did lift indeed. And remember those fuel issues we mentioned. I think Brady might be towards the very edge of the tank here. He might not be able to make it. Is losing a ton of time this lap. Speaking of time, Espez is now within 1 second for the overall lead, approaching 2 minutes and 20 seconds now on the clock, entering the 3rd sector, and it's coming down each braking zone now.
Espez, like I said, doing what he does best. Look at how much he's closing this up. Espez has got it under a second. We're looking at 0.9 of a second now as we look from the back of Soria's car at those headlights coming his way. 0.9 of a second. Oh, and we've got one car getting out of the way. Knows the leaders are coming through. This is a battle for the ages. This series brings us great battles every single race. This is going to be another one. We've got under 2 minutes left. This is going to be tight. Is this our last lap, or are we going to have one more? It's going to be so tight. We're still under green flag. I don't see the white flag flying yet. It looks like we're going to have yet another lap. So this one plus one more at least.
So an extra lap here, and that's going to make it even more concerning for those who were later on the fuel tanks. Some of the drivers having to go as far as 14 laps now. Most drivers were only able to go about 13 or so before their scheduled stops. However, a couple did make it 15. Here's a look now at the battle behind Johnson and Burrows, swapping spots for 3rd position.
I got to say, I'm glad the numbers are so big and so pervasive through those cars. With the exact same paint scheme as it looks like for us, having the 61 and the 21, 62 and the 21 makes it easier to tell them apart because these guys drive very similarly and they're both so fast sitting up front here. This is a good race too. This is going to be for our last spot on the podium as we watch Cam Ebbing going around the number 15 car. Jordan Bachmeyer. Is Bachmeyer having fuel issues as well?
See, as he just put the traditional thank you. Both drivers have mentioned their need to save gas. Brady is in massive fuel save mode for reference. He is just confirmed over the radio to the grouping trying to catch up. But for the leaders, They expect the white flag this time by. Espes now over the back bumper of Soria. Espes had to close a gap that was 30 minutes ago at a 3.5 second differential. It's down to these two for the final lap coming up to the white flag here from Long Beach.
And that's gonna maybe. Do we have the white flag? I don't think. Oh, we do have
Yes,
white flag. We have the white flag now as he makes the dive to the left side, trying to get rid of that mirror. Oh, this is going to be good. We've got Espes and Soria and Espes. Espes doesn't quite make it around. Good defense from Soria. He's got a lot of defending to do. Espes is all over him as we go through the fountain. These walls are getting closer and closer as we watch sparks come off the left side of Soria's car. Or that might have been Espes. I couldn't tell which one the sparks were coming from. That's how tight this race is.
Can Espes getting a run here? This is the next passing opportunity. Through turns 6 and 7, no move from Espes. Currently 3/10 behind. Wider arcs taken now from Soria. Making their way now to Seaside Way. Who's going to be able to try and get the checkered first is the question. Soria with a great launch off the corner.
Getting down to the Firestone corner here. This is going to be your last real opportunity. You can't quite do it in the Indy left, and it's just too short of a run when you come out of the hairpin. So how is this going to play out? He's got to be hoping for a mistake as we watch. Oh, good run, looking up towards the inside, coming into Indy left. Oh, coming up to another exciting finish here.
Can Espes get it? Tried to think about the bumper. Soria gets the run off the corner. Espes tries to pull up the draft. Checker flag waves. The inaugural winner for the Big C's MX-5 Challenge in its history in Long Beach comes down to the drag race, but it's Soria who takes the victory by a 1/10 of a second over Pablo Espes. Third place, side by side with the drag race at the line themselves. 6/1000ths of a second, Austin Johnson gets the podium.
I gotta say, I'm glad it was a Johnson that took it, although, personal reasons. Not related, I promise, but Anthony Burrows put up a good fight there. 6/1000ths of a second to the finish as we watch the celebration go through the inside over by the Bubblegum Shrimp Company.
Well, why not going to a creative location, especially with the fountain? Why not jump in the fountain with the car? Let's see if it's possible. He's trying it, but he's now stuck in the plants.
I've tried it in the sim. I would never try it in real life, but I've tried it in the sim. I've never been able to get up there, but I have seen, I think the Porsche Owners Club, we got a couple of cars that made it all the way up in there. I think one of them at least was upside down. But hey, if you get it to the fountain, I think that's a win in itself.
So the last of the drivers coming across the stripe, the last points paying position will go to Lee Martin. By the way, the 149, Lars Toff, the first driver out of the points, is still battling a little bit with traffic. The rest of the field are laps down. With that post-race coverage coming up in just a few moments, you're watching GSRC as drivers try and bring their very damaged cars back to the paddock, such as this one with Lars Toff.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to GSRC's coverage of today's action as we go to the Minus 273 post-race show. Whether it's on the real track or the virtual track, Minus 273 has one goal in mind: to produce the best racing gloves to get the job done. With unmatched comfort, durability, and style, their gloves will leave your old ones in the dust. Find out how they can help you by visiting minus273.biz. Today's action came down to a comeback after absolute craziness early on. For the first time in series history on the streets of Long Beach, in Long Beach, California, it was Jose Soria who led just about every single lap except for one on the way to the checkered flag. Espes closed up a more than 3-second differential to be able to get himself within a tenth at the checkered. Austin Johnson in a drag race beat Anthony Burrows for the final stop on the podium, with Cam Eben in fifth. Of note, one driver has been given a black flag post-race as a result of contact in that fifth on back grouping. That is currently Jordan Bachmeier. We will see how things cycle in terms of scoring for him. Andreas Preto finished in seventh, with Schooner, Brady, and Lynn the top 10.
Our next 10 at P11, we're looking at Rui Coimbra, followed tight behind him with Aaron Jeanson, who we talked about earlier, Jose Gonzalez, followed by Kezia Martin right behind him, Otis Adams Jr., and Lars Toft bringing out to 17. 18 is Maeda, Largo in 19, and Brandon Hawken, who I think may have gotten the fast lap of the race at a 33.0, brings out the top 20.
Can't confirm he did get the fastest lap, but was outside the points. Fullestad also was outside the points with the DNF after he had massive hits to the wall leading one of the main packs after pit stops. Nick Carty had to come down to the pit lane twice, finished 22nd, but Kane also had an early incident and finished 23rd. Shane Sullivan, after hitting the wall out of turn 1, immediately left the paddock, flew on a helicopter, and left the state. He finished 24th. Hides, he was treated like a pinball that was in the center of a punching bag that was sent around a laundry machine. He finished 25th. Pandicio 26th, Munoz the last driver who took the start in 27th, Robert Mason, Barrett Bate did not take the green flag today. It's another eventful day of action to say the very least, but it's Jose Soria who came away with the victory today in the Big C's MX-5 Challenge in its inaugural trip to Long Beach, California. Soria now joins us in the broadcast booth. Jose, first things first, absolute domination today. Very calm for the most part as a result of a lot of the battling on behind. How would you describe your feelings like in the cockpit, though, once you realize Espes is coming and he's coming quick?
Yeah, hey guys. Well, honestly, I was pretty calm from the beginning. The first few laps, I knew I had some other guys behind me that were pretty quick, but I thought that it was like 1/10 or 2/10 quicker, so I was just saving a bit of fuel. But when I saw that they pitted and Pablo was already like 2 seconds behind me, I started to push, and we had pretty much the same pace. But yeah, I also didn't have a lot of practice, so I made a lot of mistakes. And I actually hit the wall a few times, so I was quite down on top speed, and I think it showed at the end when Pablo actually got to me. So for the most part, yeah, it was calm until the end when he was already close, and in the last few laps, I knew that he was going to get a pretty good chance to attack me and pass me, but I think I did a good job defending on the inside and also on the last corner.
Now, this is a very difficult track in the first place, but when it comes to racing at this track with the Mazda MX-5, how would you describe that experience, especially knowing you've had some experience in open-wheel competition here at Long Beach, but this seemed to be a different beast in of itself today?
Well, I would say it's actually easier than the open-wheel cars here because this car tolerates quite a fair bit of contact, whereas the open-wheel cars don't. So on that part, it was a bit easier, but it's also a lot closer because of the draft, because I think the draft is super strong from like 1 second or even 2 seconds behind other cars. So yeah, that makes for really close racing overall. But aside from that, really not a big deal.
Now, one of your first starts, I believe, this season, will we see you back in the car for the remaining rounds of the season, especially since the next race is the Daytona International Speedway road course, but the legacy version, so the bumpy Daytona?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I will be able to make the next race because I think that I have another race on that day, but I would love to do probably next season, or the next complete season, and try and do the whole championship and try and go for the championship itself.
Anyone you want to thank for the run today?
Basically my teammates who were spotting for me, and yeah, pretty much that.
Congratulations on the victory today. You're the inaugural winner in series history at Long Beach. Congrats.
Thank you, guys.
Jose Soria comes away with the victory today after he led 25 of the 26 completed laps today. Third place, Austin Johnson also joins the broadcast booth. He finished in that spot in a drag race. That drag race leads to Michael Johnson.
So, Austin, you're bringing it home for the Johnson family here. I got to tell you, thank you, because I couldn't race this one, but keeping it Johnson strong here. 6/1000ths of a second. So, were you like just getting out and virtually rubbing the paint off the front of the car so you'd have one layer less to make up that 6/1000ths?
That was, yeah, it was really, really close there. I'm actually good friends with Anthony, and we were having a really good battle. I kept trying to pass him going to turn one, and he would cross me up, and we'd, keep going back and forth, and it was really fun. I'm surprised I even got him at the end. I think his damage that he had both mirrors kind of dangling. I think that kind of slowed him down, but it helped me get them right at the line, which I didn't even think I could, to be honest.
It was tight. I think that's one of the tightest finishes we've seen in this series. So you and Anthony, were you trying to work together in a work together and then battle later situation? Because you guys were running pretty hard with Kenny Brady for a while there.
Yeah, we're all trying to work together. We were right behind, I think, Pablo at the pit stop, but then he started to pull away. He's a lot faster than us. And then Kenny realized he had a fuel problem. I think he put not enough fuel in, and then he had to save, and he went back to like ninth, I think, or something. So he got out of the equation, and then me and Anthony, I think we figured out that we couldn't really catch them unless they wrecked. So we just started to have a little fun kind of battle in there.
Well, the fun definitely showed, and a beautiful just run to the finish there. I don't know if having both mirrors. Did you have both mirrors, or did you lose any? Because I know he lost at least one, possibly both, just dangling there. So did you have your mirrors at the finish? I forgot to look.
I think I feel like I did. I tried to keep it out of the wall as best I could. I was almost losing a lot of time trying to not hit the wall, but these cars can kind of tolerate it. But I think the deciding factor there was probably some of his mirrors, and he has a little damage there too. So that definitely helped me get him on the straight there.
Yeah, looking at the playback here, it looks like he has a little bit of damage on his left front that you may not have had. So a little bit sleeker push through the air. Looking forward to Daytona. The walls aren't quite as scary, but you do have that bus stop, which can take somebody out pretty quick. What are your thoughts? Let's make the prediction now. Are you going to win Daytona, or are you just going to be on the podium?
Oh man, I mean that's a huge wild card with the amount of draft that you can get there on those long straightaways and corners. I mean you can be in 10th place and probably get to the first place at the line. So it'll be a huge wild card. I don't know. I will definitely bet on myself. I hope I can win. But you can never really predict the future.
So true, so true. So so who do you have to thank for today's podium?
Well, I got to thank you guys for broadcasting this. It's a lot of fun, especially when you guys are calling it, and Cam for hosting the Big C's, and Anthony for having a great battle there at the end. It was a lot of fun.
That battle was a joy to watch for us. It was great fun calling it. Thank you for being here. I'm going to toss it back to Justin to take us on out.
Thank you very much, Michael. And we'd like to thank Austin Johnson and Jose Soria for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here today. As mentioned, the next race heads to Daytona. That's expected to be an intriguing one, but here's the thing I do want to ask you before we head off to the sunset, especially since the sun is already trying to set behind the ocean and behind the buildings and whatnot. Pablo Espez in a very strong position, Michael, to mathematically lock the championship with a couple races to go.
So do you think he can do it? We watched this race today. Now, this is a difficult course because of the walls. And I don't think I've had two sentences in a row today without mentioning the walls. The way these walls played a part here, and the way Pablo played with the walls, being able to catch up to Jose at the end there. Pablo's got a really nice grasp of how this group runs. So can he win it? Yes. Is he going to lock it out? Oh, it's going to be tight. But if anybody can do it, we've watched Pablo week after week after week make some amazing runs. But as we go to Daytona is one of the toughest tracks because it is deceptively difficult, especially running the older version that's a good bit bumpier. So how that's going to play out, it's too difficult to call. Just like when I asked Austin, how do you think you're going to win it, or are you just going to be on the podium? Well, it was halfway in jest, but halfway serious. You've got to just get a lot of luck when it comes to Daytona. I've seen real life races where people run out of fuel on the last lap going from first to 8th or 10th. So there's no telling what's going to happen there, but definitely tune in and watch that next race. It is going to be a nail biter.
How big is that next race, by the way, in terms of how those margins of luck could come into play? Mathematically, essentially, for Hawken to have a true shot, he needs to outscore Espes by 7 or more points to have a shot in the finale, depending on how the drops fare out over the next couple races, since the winner does get 30 points, second is 23. Even a second place to Espes would not be enough to keep Hawken's chances going. But on that note, we'll discuss that more for the next time out, as we'd like to thank you for tuning in to tonight's action from Long Beach, California. We'd also like to thank our sponsors SHH Shifter, Butt Kicker, and Minus 273, as well as the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed up on your screen. Additional thanks go to Jude Lawn, who provides the wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more for great work. Thanks to today's team and Michael, Zach, and Dougie. You can find out more about GSRC at Global SimRacing Channel.com or through our social media listed on screen. Be sure to check out our merchandise store as well at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As talked about with our competitors, the next race is going to be big. Daytona International Speedway, the legacy version, in fact. That could be the difference between the battle for the championship being clinched and the championship going to one final round of the season. Be sure to tune in next time out for that respective race. Again, that race, January the 9th, coverage starts 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen. Check those out and mark them down your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.